AI is reshaping the language profession at every level. So how can language professionals build careers that are sustainable, visible, and future-ready? As the Asian Regional Center of the International Federation of Translators, FIT Asia is proud to continue its online lecture series exploring translation practice, professional development, and the future of language work in the AI era. Now, in the second lecture of the FIT Asia online lecture series, we welcome Ravi Kumar, founder of Multilingual Learning, founding president of the Indian Translators Association, and treasurer of FIT Asia. In his lecture, Language Skills to Language Enterprise Building Sustainable Careers in the AI Era, Ravi Kumar will present a practical roadmap for translators, interpreters, trainers, and students who want to grow in the evolving language economy. This session will cover how to position your expertise, improve professional visibility, write better proposals, communicate with prospects, manage clients, and deliver consistent quality through simple systems. You will also gain insights into value-based pricing, service diversification, project and contract fundamentals, and responsible AI integration using repeatable workflows. If you want to turn your language skills into long-term professional opportunity, this seminar is for you.
Let's begin. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, colleagues and friends across Asia and beyond, and across different time zones. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome you back to the FIT Asia Global Online Lecture Series. So if the inaugural lecture last December, where Mr. Amin Gao illuminated the evolving landscape of translation practice and education, established our intellectual compass, then tonight we embark on the next leg of that journey. We move from understanding the context of AI disruption to mastering the mechanics of sustainable professional survival. The question before us is deceptively simple. In an era where large language models can generate possible prose in seconds, how do human language professionals convert their skills into durable, value-generating enterprises? The romantic idea of the solitary translator working in obscurity has collided with the reality of platform economies, algorithmic visibility, and AI-augmented workflows. So technical fluency remains necessary, but it is no longer sufficient. Tonight, we explore the pivot from language skills to a language enterprise, a shift requiring business acumen, ethical clarity, and entrepreneurial courage. So to guide us through this terrain, we are very fortunate to have a speaker whose career embodies the very synthesis we seek. So Dr. Ravi Kumar stands at a rare intersection. He is a scholar of Spanish and Latin American studies, a professional translator of the highest distinction, honored as the 2013 Translator of the Year, and a licensed advocate before the Supreme Court of India. As founder of Multilingual Learning, he has spent over 2 decades building translation and language service initiatives that bridge academia and industry. In his capacity as treasurer of FIT Asia and founding president of the Indian Translators Association, he has advocated tirelessly for the professional dignity of our field. So what makes Ravi's perspective indispensable and important is his refusal to choose between the library and the marketplace. He understands that sustainable careers are not built on defensive resistance to AI, but on strategic positioning, value-based pricing, and service architecture that extends beyond or well beyond translation only. So tonight he offers not abstract theory, but a practice roadmap or practical roadmap. How to write stronger proposals, manage client relationships, structure repeatable workflows, and integrate AI responsibly without surrendering professional agency. So whether you are a seasoned interpreter navigating platform economics, a trainer preparing students for an unrecognizable job market, or a student wondering if language studies still promise a viable and valuable future, this session is really crafted for you. So please join me in extending a warm welcome to Dr. Ravi Kumar. So, Dr. Kumar, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Feng. I must give you my special thanks to you for inviting me to this lecture series and interacting with students at Macau as well as across the globe. I feel thrilled that we are discussing today a very important topic, and that is use of AI, use of techniques that keeps us moving in spite of all our efforts that currently tend to endanger our profession. I believe it is not danger, rather it is an opportunity, and we transfer ourselves from being an individual to a team worker, because the bigger team we have, the better it is for the results that can create a bigger impact in language market. See, my friends, today I want to discuss with you, some key points, and those key points are first of all related to how this AI is driving the world. We will also now discuss about what is from a language school to an enterprise, what role we play there. I would also like to share with you some experiences in last 3 decades I have been part of as well. And then we will understand how the development of Google phenomena has impacted the whole content consumption market, including invent of mobile phone and Wi-Fi technology. We will also understand the shift that is taking place in technology. I mean, it is dynamic. The way translation, work was dynamic. Similarly, this technology is very dynamic, and human needs never stop. So we always evolve. And in all this scenario, what is the role of we linguist? At one point, as a translator, AI is replacing us. As an interpreter, online AI is impressing us. As thought-provoking poet, even at times, AI is replacing us. We are being sort of knocked down from various corners, and in that we have to survive, and we have to also get satisfactory answer to all our human needs and desires of being creative. And in all this, after having discussed, I would like to discuss with you how to evolve from one man enterprise to a middleman, medium enterprise, and then to a large corporation as a business house. And we will discuss what opportunities we have currently in AI market, how we can make use of those opportunities. And at the end, we will have some question and discussions and some research questions, which can be used even for our research in academia and future activities in translation field. So if you have any questions, please hold on and direct your questions to our friend Andrea, and then she will make notes of those questions, and we will discuss about it after I have finished my lectures. So with this introduction, my friend, I would again like to thank you all for being part of today's gathering. And a special thanks to Professor Dr. Difeng for having invited me here. And thanks to FIT Asia and FIT Center. With Umbrella, we are striving today with more than 100 plus associations and spread across the globe. So with this umbrella body that embodies small associations like ours to large associations like European countries or even China or even America or any other part of the world whose numbers are very high. In India, we do have high number of translators, but we are so diversified that still today government has not yet started playing key role in controlling it or doing any promotional activities on a industry basis or association basis, but they do promote it as a literature but not much as business, whereas the need is now business. I hope that will also come in the near future. Talks are already on the way. New education policy in India has imbibed these concepts, and they have already introduced a special institute for translation and interpreting, which will be of world class. In times to come, we will have more of such activities from Indian side on a larger scale, my friend. But the most important aspect is when we are talking about language as a business, not purely as a literary pursuits, we have to integrate translation not as an individual act, but as a teamwork, as a process that involves technology, that involves contracts, that involves branding, that involves project management, quality control, including some standards which were earlier developed, as well as ISO standards, including Chinese standards, Japanese standards, or EN 15038 or American standard 1575. So my friends, with this, let's come to our point of discussion for today. I would like to share, and then we move to our acts for the day. So what is there is in languages AI driven world. See, traditionally we have used languages as a point of communication. We communicate. Certainly in future also we will continue to communicate. But in that communication, we used to have pleasure by writing, in a style, talking in a style, using appropriate words at a certain point, including adding values like emotions. But slowly and slowly, because of need or desire of humans to communicate with people across the globe in a much faster way, the desire for development of multilingual content has gone up, because many of we individuals, humans, are not unilinguals. We are bilinguals or multilinguals. In my case, I speak 5 languages at a time. Inside my home, I talk in Hindi with my wife and family. When I get angry, I talk in English. When I go to colleges, I talk in English. When I go to my university classroom, I talk in Spanish. When I go to my village, I talk to my people in my village language. With my mother, my brothers and sister, I talk in a language called Bajika. That is language spoken in Bihar, spoken by approximately 5 million people plus. But still, it is a regional language with very little recognition. Whereas if you look at figures in Europe, many countries have that number of population. and they fight for their languages. So just imagine the skill that we are talking about in India. 5 million people is speaking that language with very little recognition. We do not have our own, I will say advanced literature books, but now people are focusing on it. They are fighting for identity. Similarly, my friends, when we are talking about languages, we were talking about word to word translation, sense to sense translation, then semantic equivalence, all these, development that has taken place in languages has now shifted to AI. Because now what AI does, you just give the text to AI and AI gives you output. Many times you may find those outputs little absurd, but it does a mass production of content. So here the mass production is one point that we must make use of it. I mean, we have to little break through from our thought process of being creative in languages to being creative in managing those outputs. So that comes into post-editing thing again, which was happening earlier when we started using machine translation tools, including memory tools. So now at industry level, language is not seen as pursuit for communication only or literary representations, but it is a necessity and part of a process. And it must be processed as fast as possible. And that's why AI has come into picture, because that caters to the need. When I say need, it is functional need. The creative need is still, coming into picture. But when we are talking about large scale consumption of content after content boom, Google phenomena, as well as rise of internet, use of Wi-Fi, use of mobile telephony. So my friends, what is happening in classrooms, whatever we learn, and in practice, whatever we face, there is a big gap. So learning is just a foundation. I mean, if you are a graduate, let's say in a language, Google has started giving better results than a fresh graduate could do. So what is happening? We have to fight those points to be made available to the market, and that is to develop skills. Those skill sets which make you smarter than Google, those skill sets which make you more visible, which you more connected to the clients. And in order to make your clients happy and deliver them desired results, you need to create a system. And this system can be created individually or with the team. And above and all, while doing this, if we build trust, that matters a lot. Otherwise, all efforts go in vain. And of course, when all these things are tested, you have opportunity, you have funds, you have clients, you have team, you diversify and scale into a bigger business and make an enterprise. That's the basic funda of today's talk, my friend. So now, before I come into full-fledged solutions to problems, let's also understand a little bit of background of our translation and evolution, because I am part of this. When I started as a student of language, at that phase of time, I recall people had started using already computers. Even at that time, there was buzz, that now computers has come, people will, humans will be replaced by computers, etc. But it never happened. Rather, computer remained a tool for a bigger advancements. People used to type, by handwriting at times, or at times through typewriters and do translations. Then electronic typewriter came. And you could see, while typing, there were many spelling mistakes with a typist could do. But even before that, a translator could translate only through hand. They used to type instead of typing, they used to write and then get it typed by a typist. And then translation was done and put into records. Many places, handwritten thing used to work, including courts. So this was the phase, I will say 1990 and before. But then slowly when people started using computers, they started using internet, the need came, the need for information. People wanted to see lots of things at one platform. So website came into picture. Even website has gone, become from a static website to dynamic websites. We call it Web 2 technologies. It came into picture. Parallelly, there has been development of machine translation tools. Only machine could translate from word to word, or there were certain patterns added into system, and those patterns used to create translation which used to be 50% or maybe 40% good, but then you have to edit it, which was very tiresome, and it was very putting load on human minds. So all this when started happening, my friends, there came a challenge, and that challenge was addressed by a concept called memory tools. So technologies started promoting rather memory for repetitive work. And from memory, there came hybrid tool, which used to do memory as well as machine translation. And that's how the efficiency increased. But in that phase of time, again, the disruption into creative mind of a translator was going on. And that disruption was really tiring, because you were not doing translation, rather you were doing translation of chunks of phrases with no emotions. Rather, whatever is there on the screen, you just do equivalence and apply your little brain and then translate. An editor will go through it, do some tweaking, and then functional translation is happening. But when we are talking about literary work, when we are talking about poetic expression, we are talking about writing styles like Shakespeare, or we are talking about poems, they still lack in these machines, including AI. So emotional aspect remains with humans. However, the production capacity has increased for reuse of content as well as for its recycling and mass production. Humans could not do mass production, but these machines are doing it. And this is what is the need currently. If you want to become a poet, you remain a poet. You do whatever you feel like, but you cannot become a richer person. Salary will not come from poetry. Certainly, if you write something which is extraordinary, like a known poet, then it's different thing. You will receive lots of call and demand. But if it is only for your personal pursuit, you remain a poor translator or a poor writer. But if you don't want to be poor, and if you want to make this, a point for your living, we have to move and integrate with machines. So now, after this memory tool, etc., from 2022 or 2023 onwards, invention of chat GPT, invention of cloud platform, invention of Gemini, invention of autopilot, they are now part of our life, and they have captured our imagination in such a way that in times to come, Without that, we will not be able to survive. They are now personalized AI, and they're, for a specific domain, for personalized activities, including storytelling, video preparation, content writing, political writing, legal writing. These things are part of these developments that is taking place. So that was, in now evolutionary stage that I have just given you. I have given you experience from my point of view, which I have felt and came across. Now just see how this craft of translation has traveled from being, a craft to an AI enterprise. I will just give you some, examples. For example, look at, I'm just, talking from 2012, not far away, 13 years back, or maybe more, little more earlier. Manual translation was in practice. No memory, no automation, human judgment, emotional hooks, intellectual work, and personal satisfaction. That was the point of happiness for a translator. When you translate, it is being read by a variety of people. They feel good about it. You were happy, satisfied. That was a hook or a kick that used to drive translators or language people. But that was pushed, because of boom that has taken place and desire of human to get content as fast as possible. They didn't want even to wait for a day. So variety of, steps were taken, techniques were developed to transfer knowledge, information from one language to another. If a human could do, it will take lots of time. Let's say, for example, if a report is prepared in English today and you wanted to reach out to the world, you have to wait for the translation for 12 hours, at times 1 day, 2 days. So this could not happen instantly. But this Web 2 technology that demanded, instant reply forced people, industry people, innovators to come to the forefront and give some solutions. And Google certainly came into picture for machine translation. They developed variety of things, not only Google, but Microsoft, IBM, some systems in China, some systems in Japan. All developed countries, they started focusing on development of a tool that could do transfer of these information quickly, and that certainly needed editing, review. Especially the critical information can't be transmitted globally because that could create lots of blunders and errors, and which you have seen many times. When you are passing by, you find something absurd written. And that is all because of Google Translation. People started laughing at it instead of creating brands. There are some brands, they lost their markets because of small blunders like translation of menu. Because there are lots of concepts which is not translated. So from there, the development of eye tracker, development of new inputs, development of speedy, work taken place. And then finally, this AI has taken over and it is creating a boom. Earlier, a person could translate, let's say, 10 pages a day. With use of memory tools, efficiency increased to 20 per pages or 30 pages. Now you can translate 100 pages or maybe more, depending upon how much developed or mature your memory is, your LLM is, and how quickly you adapt with new prompts and create a series of prompts. All these matter a lot, my friends. So these techniques, if you learn, you evolve. If you cry that somebody is, replacing you, you are or you will be wiped out. So before I come to you to discuss how AI is impacting us and how we can integrate them in our process and how we can grow as an enterprise, let's understand the market, translation market and how it is going on. There are some research agencies. It is very, difficult to measure the market size, but there are some agencies like Common Sense Advisory, Slatter, and some other like Coherent. They have created sort of permutation combination and derived these baseline data about the market. In 2012, let's say, it was considered, $33.52 billion of market. And in 2025, this became, after 13 years, it became more than double, 71.7 billion. Next 4 years, it is going to touch 100 billions, 96.21, and maybe more. You never know what new things comes suddenly. So there is a steady growth of 5 to 10% or 12% in the language market. And that would involve translation, interpretation, content writing, content DTP. That is the traditional, story that I'm talking about. But there is an important point that comes into picture, and that is how this consumption or market is being measured. We have to understand that as well. Interestingly, North America comes into number one position. Why? Because of US and Canadian market. Canada certainly has a large number of immigrant population, but it is more driven by bilingualism because of English and French, and lots of investment and money is poured by Canadian government. On the other hand, in US, as it is a big business house and hub, and there is large number of immigrant population that also need translation services at everywhere, especially compliance, especially contracts, including content consumption. People are multilingual there: Spanish, English, French, Indian languages, now European languages, Chinese, Vietnamese, or Arabic language. All these are being consumed in North America in a large quantity. Europe comes at 34.2 because of European Union. At least 25 languages are official languages. Translation is done in all these languages. Interpretation is done in all these languages. Interestingly, Asia Pacific region, certainly China is a big market, but China has Chinese language and English is coming into picture. But in India, India is a multilingual country with 1600, officially recorded languages. And because of multilingualism, people tend to make use of translation services free of cost, because they manage from one language to another, because most of the people will find one common language. If nothing comes into picture, English comes into picture. So professionally, the spending of the government or spending of the people is less. And of course, where there is a big business, people tend to speak in that particular language. So now when the growth is happening in the region, the language pattern is also changing. Spending pattern is also changing. Demand is happening at a larger scale. And therefore, you find this growth. Earlier, it used to be very little. Similarly, Oceania, Australia, and New Zealand, they have their own market and spend lots of money. for reaching out to people in their languages because of immigrant population. My friend, that was the basic of, our premise for today's talk. But now, in all doing all these language activities, you have to understand that when we are talking about need of the translation or need of content in mother tongue, in something which common people likes, after web 2 technologies boom, after Google phenomena, after social media boom, parallelly development of technology, telephony, mobile telephony, use of Wi-Fi, and democratization of internet facilities. This has increased the need of content consumption in the quickest possible time. People don't want to wait. So in order to cater to those needs, apart from technology that I've just talked about, and after finally coming up of internet, the experts have devised certain techniques which I would like to bring to your notice. The first technique was certainly automated translation through hybrid technologies and post editing. But that created negative impact. Positive impact was that you could deliver translation faster way. Negative was that it started dehumanizing, activities, in the sense that earlier it used to be human pursuit, used to feel happy about it. But when hybrid technology or memory tools or machine tools started coming, the satisfaction level came down, because you were dealing not with the context fully, the totality of the story, but chunks to copy, paste, edit, and move. This is what you do in SGL Trados, no? So that was dehumanizing effect. Personal satisfaction of translator went down. The business aspect or the pressure to deliver more came into picture, and people started living in stress. The other method was crowdsourcing. We call it massive online cooperation. How it happened? Suppose you have a fan follower of, let's say, 1 million people across the globe, and you are a writer. You wrote a book in English, or you're in your mother tongue. Now you wanted this book to be reaching out to the whole world on the same day, the day it was launched in different languages. If you spend on translation, it could cost you a lot, and time will certainly be a big factor. But if you make use of your fan followers who are multilingual, sitting across the globe, what they will do? You float your content to them and tell them to translate. You have to create a system. It is not only translation. You have to also vet it, approve it. So suppose if your one paragraph was translated by a person sitting in, let's say, Honolulu, and somebody sitting in, let's say, Delhi, or somebody sitting in Sri Lanka, or somebody sitting in Macau, approves it and put some remarks, stars. So if you have defined the parameters of content translation online in a platform, vetting of those translation, 5 people are voting as well, vote for it, 10 people voted it, your translation is approved. And generally this is being done across the globe. I mean, it is also a strategy to seek help from your people. They feel involved. They feel attached to your work. They feel part of, your work. Means they are co-creating values with you. So it is not only taking help or minimizing cost of translation or minimizing time gap. It is also engaging with your people who are your fans and taking their help. They feel part of you. So these are all strategies being used still by variety of people to get more views, more money, more results. And this is what is one technique, my friend, which you can also use if you want in need. Similarly, there is lightweight peer production translation. Means now there is no, for mass cooperation, you need to have a platform, you need to have a technique, you need to have people, fan followers. It's not an easy task. But when we are talking about peer-produced translation and reviewed and machine translation, idea is if you say do machine translation, you have the risk of getting more errors because they do not feel human sentiments. But instead of that, if you have domain experts with you, if you have friends, if you have colleagues who are experts in domain, so you just give them a manual and tell them that this manual has already been translated in, let's say, in English. We want this to be done in, let's say, Hindi. And a person is sitting there and who is expert in that particular field, and tell them to translate that manual. So that person is not doing word-to-word translation. That person is using his experience and producing the manual. And that is done quickly in his language. And if the purpose is solved, why this translation was done, your work is done. So this is another way of doing your ways translation in a faster manner. And certainly this particular thing which we are talking about, collaborative translation, it has been done at various places, including, providing humanitarian aids. For example, there is some earthquake happening somewhere, let's say in Nepal, and you need to help them with medicine, you need to help them with doctor facilities, basic needs to all those people who are suffering. And if you start doing translation of your medicines, you are gone. Those people will suffer more. So in order to provide immediate help and relief, what you will do? You will make use of collaborative translation. People who are there, who are following you, who want to help you, they do the needful. You just need to create a system, vet them, and provide the rescue. So this is what this translation without border does. This is one successful example. But my friends, these were all tools which were not automated. It needed human intervention. It needed a platform. It needed fan followers. It needed millions of people helping you out. But all these things are slowly fading away. I will not say they are wiped out, but they are slowly fading away. Those who adopt to technology, they will survive. And those who do not, they will be wiped out, my friends. And that is now invention of GPT, Gemini, DeepSeek, Cloud, and thousands of customized AI translation tools, tools for content writing, tools for YouTube video editing, tools for generating images, tool for generating concepts, tool for generating mind maps, tool for generating your thumbnails. I will show you, a tool. I have used it even in this PPT. I have used some tool that you will realize just in next slide. So my friends, the shift I was talking to you has been massive, from manual to machine, machine to memory, from memory to hybrid, from hybrid to MOC, massive online cooperation, collaborative translation, peer review translation. All these things are happening parallelly. And while all these things were happening successfully, a wave of opportunities have come in name of AI. But apart from opportunities, there are very negative points that AI is coming with. I will discuss it in next few minutes. But before that, I wanted to check with Andrea. Do we have more time, Andrea?
Hello, it's 7:46. We still have around 15 minutes.
We have 15 minutes more before we go for discussion?
Yes.
Okay. So now, let's see, how this new technology is happening, is affecting our life. As I told you, people need speed. They don't need only internet speed. They need information at a speed. Things, let's say, happening in Middle East currently, war zone. Communication is done in Arabic. But whole world wants to understand this. So there must be someone sitting somewhere transferring the information about what is going on across the globe. And that is use of these translation tools. And certainly AI is helping a lot now. But my friends, there is a trend that is saying, research has shown that in last 2-3 years, there has been decrease in use of traditional methods of translation by 2% decrease. So it's minus 2%. Whereas there is tremendous increase in use or demand for language technology by 12%. Okay. See, and this has impacted, slowly it is impacted, the morale of language people, whether it is translator, whether it is interpreter. They are perplexed. They are surprised. They are not able to understand what to do and what not to do in this current crisis, which is AI. And the problem is there is a gap. There is industry. There is class that is working in that industry. And there are institutions where teaching is done. So teaching institutions have not yet visualized the problem which is coming to their students and to their own profession, in fact. If you don't have students for languages, your faculty will close. So it is now imperative for language people as well as people who provide those training in translation or interpretation or technology training. And of course, the industry wants quick solution. So those students who are equipped with these technologies, they integrate fast in the industry. But those who don't, they are wiped out or they suffer. They go into depression because they spend too much time, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and at the end, they are poor. They are not getting jobs. So that gap has to be bridged. Why I'm telling you this? Because recently, I'm giving you example from Canada. There, people appear for interpretation jobs in parliament. 11% people only got selected as an interpreter. 89% were rejected, after being trained. Why? Because of the gaps. It is not only, the linguistic capabilities that matters now. It is also the technology to which you use and adapt quickly. If you fail, you are gone. So the role of humans as well as technology together, which Bruno Latour has given long back, a theory called action network theory or actor network theory, ANT theory we call. Go through that. You will realize that machines are equally important in a system, just like humans. And if you minus that, your system will collapse. You will not be able to move at all. So instead of collapsing and getting into depression mode, it is better to do friendship with them and make use of them. You ride on them rather they riding you. That's the concept I want to focus on. So now the role, what is happening with the linguist? Their role is changing. How this role is changing? It's correlate with the activities that I just explained it to you before. How in 1990 era manual thing was there, and then we came into machine, then we came into memory, then we came into hybrid, and then post editing, etc. Now let's see the evolution, how it is taking place. What are the activities in language industry? Traditionally, what we had when we were using only human model, we had translation as 48%, we had interpretation at 9%, language training, language school 16%, technology and research 7%, management related thing when languages were used, including UN interpreting or communication or international communication. There was a corporate communication department. All these 10%. I had given you a data that relates 2010 till this time. I will say we still were manual or human model. But when we started using CAT tools, Google and memory tools, the activities expanded. But the percentage also had varied. For example, translation was no more only human translation. It had human plus TM, right? Which is 45%. There is a decrease there. 3% has gone down. Interpretation on site has increased by 18%. And of course, telephone or online interpreting has also increased now. Then came search engine optimization because digital marketing took over. People wanted to expand. People wanted to reach out. Social media came into picture. So you were not rather doing direct marketing of your product to people, calling them, we call it direct marketing. Now indirect marketing started coming. Means you are doing everything. You don't go to people, people come to you, and that they come only when you do SEO of your content, SEO your product. And there was some technique being used, deployed to attract visitors to your website. That is what is SEO. And in that, language was used, translation was used, because you wanted to cater to the global market. So you could create content in French, you could create content in Spanish, Arabic, or any regional language you want. And search engines could give you better results, bring you in the top 10 list or top 20 list, or top 1 number. Many times you had to spend to get into that system and reach the top. The more top you are, the more better you get results. Similarly, the consumption in DTP, like using PDF, using Acrobat, using Photoshop, using CDR files, brochure and booklets were published in multiple languages. So DTP came into picture. Then there came content resource management, CRM. You are working on inside a CRM, creating contents, and backend the industry is being shown look and feel, we call UX design and all, and then research certainly has increased into machine translation tool or research, and that's how this LLM came into picture. It is we language people who have helped development of these LLMs, and we have created those LLMs in a way, and we cannot be threatened by our own creation. We are humans, so we have to be smart enough. Certainly that LLM is a collaborative work, but we as humans still have liberty to become smarter and make use of these LLMs, which is now AI, and still create a hybrid ecosystem, because whether it is online interpretation through AI or whether it is translation through AI, still you need your human intervention, because if you don't vet that, you are at the risk. Recently, what this AI is doing is a big danger. AI does hallucinations. AI even at times changes, names of people. So if you blindly depend on AI when it translates, it fills those gaps which are not there in your content. They at times add some information. They at times delete those information, or at times change the facts totally. So there comes, the human intervention. And if you learn the technique of using this AI exact platform, you can do wonders. So content that we were producing, let's say 10 pages earlier, we started producing 20 pages. Now AI, with the help of AI, you can use 100 or 200, 300 pages in a day. So volume has increased. Why volume has increased? So we play on volume. We do not play on rates. Earlier we were taught to fix rates. Look for you create your benchmark. You don't go below that. If you remain on that benchmark, you are wiped out, my friends. So now the benchmark is deliver more at low cost. And the more you deliver, the more you earn. Why? Because AI is there to help you. It is no more, that traditional thing which is working. And if you are living in illusion, my friends, I'm telling you, you will be wiped out as a translator or an interpreter. So the volume game is there. Certainly, there are some premium people who have already created benchmark, including in law. There are some lawyers who charge millions of dollars, for a single appearance. But that is not happening. That is not a norm. The norm is you have to play with volume now. And that volume game comes through AI. So this is, the role that is expanding, my friend. Just imagine from these four to now, what is now the most recent one? Activities. And what is hybrid translation? Interpretation, again, hybrid mode. Again, AI, platform licensing. DTP, certainly document design is there. MT integral research has increased from 12% to 17%. And the most important increase is AI solution architecture. What is this architecture? Now people want a package. They don't want translation because system has evolved. Everybody is working on some other architecture, So you learn to make use of those architecture and provide full solution. For example, a full website, let's say in English, French, German, full app, English, everything in one particular language, just ready to, click. We call it turnkey projects. So it is rising like anything, my friend. And for that, we need to learn some important points that I will cover in the next slide. And that is, we need to develop our ecosystem. And that ecosystem can be, I have just given you a broadly, certainly this image has been created by AI. And I just put them, they don't, I want this in a I gave them a prompt telling that I want to cover these points in a figure, in a representation, so that one understands it well. So we have translation and localization. We have technology integration in number 2. Then we have quality control. Then we have project workflow. Then we have communication and delivery with the client. And in overall, you need to have a feedback mechanism to improve whatever you deliver to the client. So this, if you are able to develop this basic framework, including content input, localization, technology integration, AI integration, quality control, workflow, client communication, feedback mechanism, you have created a process. You have created an architecture of your own self. And now once you have tested this, you scale. And that is very important for us. Because if you want to remain a solo translator, you are at the risk of being wiped out. Because 510% rise in development of architecture, a system. Just imagine, if that opportunity is not being tapped by translator, somebody else who has the knowledge will come, develop that architecture, hire you as a donkey, and you remain a poor unit of that particular process. You are not able to take risk, because if you don't take risk capabilities, if you don't develop risk capabilities, anybody can come and replace you because you are just a worker. So the worker you are, the less salary you will get, the less remuneration you will get. But from worker, donkey worker, if you learn contract, if you learn quality control, if you learn project management, if you learn to control risks, if you learn to develop relationship, if you learn to build team, if you learn to do partnership, and certainly if you have already developed your ecosystem in which you have tested it several times and you are ready to launch, you scale your business. And in doing so, you are not all alone, this solo translator. You scale, you create employment, you generate more funds, you grow economy of your country, you play important role in society. The way we communicators have been doing it in the past, either it is business talk, or whether it is diplomacy, whether it is technology transfer, whether it is helping in war zone, helping in distress, we have placed important role everywhere. So now my question is, or my contention is, when these opportunities are being created, when we are being trained, when we have no other option but to learn to become manager, but to learn to make use of this team, learn to make use of system, learn to make use of this architecture, learn to make use of all the process that is going on, whether it is mass level cooperation, whether it is collaborative cooperation, whether it is infrastructure development, whether it is W2 technologies, whether it is integration of IT in your system, or whether understanding variety of prompts, basic prompts, complex prompts, or series of prompts, which, does work for you. Why sit idle and remain solo translator? I mean, if that is we are doing crime to our own self. We are doing crime to our own country. We are doing crime to our own family, because we are not putting our efforts and keeping pace with the evolution that is taking place. So if you don't evolve, no species has survived in this world. Millions of years of Earth age. If you go through those evolution learning process, you will learn that those who didn't fight, those who do not adapt, they are wiped out. So the time has come not to get wiped out, my friends, but to develop a workflow from zero sort prompting to few sort prompting to chain thought prompting to prompt chaining. Why I'm using these words? Let me give you basic of it before I come to conclusion and ask you some questions. Zero sort prompting is direct task. You just go and tell your AI to do this task. No examples are given. You just say, I need this, and AI does things for you, which mostly people do. But if you do few sort prompting, you provide some examples to your AI that I want this kind of thing to be done. That is called few short prompting. If you want a little more better results, consistency, you give a structure command. You structure your prompt, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. And that reduces the task and repetitions. You get less frustrations because even in AI, you have to do experiments time and again to get desired results. But if your frequency of thought is not expressed in the prompt, AI will not understand you. So the moment AI starts understanding you and you start riding on them like a horse rider, I mean, when you learn horse riding, this happens, with everybody. You get tired. You fail. At times, horse also, pushes you. But slowly and slowly with practice, when you start learning to control your horse, you enjoy the riding. So this is what it is, this AI thing is happening. You don't have to be disheartened. You just need to be smart enough. And the last one is prompt chaining. And that is you create, one step, get result, and tell AI to follow that result. And after one result, they follow second result. The output is again becomes input for AI. So if you are able to do that, a chain of commands is executed by AI in one go. You just need to be sitting idle and take coffee, enjoy your time. The distress or stress that used to have because of chunking is no more there. More results, more options you have, more opportunities are created. You integrate data privacy in your system. You learn how to control hallucination of AI. Because, for example, in legal field, when they draft some petition to be presented in the court, AI gives you tell them to prepare one. AI, does the research. It gives you some examples of cases, let's say 5 cases. And out of those 5, they will put one case which never existed. And if you don't know how to control that error, you will be facing problems inside the court when judge knows that you have tried to bluff him. And you are fined, your reputation is at stake. Your license can be cancelled. Similarly, this kind of, tricks and control mechanism we need to learn, my friends. So now at the end, after we have done this discussion, we have some questions. The first is AI replacing translators or redefining their role? I mean, these are research questions that can be even taken as a project, PhD project. So now what unique is there in all translation language work today now when AI is doing everything? Can single linguist, solo linguist develop as an enterprise? Is it easy or difficult? Now that AI is giving everything in a very speedy way, can we balance that speed? Can we develop trust also? Because still people find AI to be less trustworthy? So these are, certain questions, my friend, that I propose to you. Think over all these points, which I have tried to cover also in a somewhat large, scale. And before I conclude, I would like to emphasize that AI is an opportunity. We as humans, linguists as an entrepreneur, use technology as an instrument, cultural insight as a compass, and business strategy as the engine for global reach and prosperity, my friends. And certainly in the wartime, I will pray for the peace across the globe and friendship. Thank you, my friends. If you have any questions, any doubts, please welcome.
Thank you very much, Ravi. And thank you. Thank you for the reality check, for confirming that, passion for languages does not in fact pay the rent. Technology matters to us, and we must make really good use of technology to make our career valuable and also sustainable. I believe our audience must have some questions to ask or comments to share, to make. So if you are with us here in the Zoom meeting, type your question directly into the Zoom chat. And if you're watching the live stream on YouTube or Bilibili or WeChat, post your questions in the live chat on whichever platform you're using. Our team is standing by to collect questions from all channels and will forward them to us here. So if you ask questions, tell us your name and location, keep it brief. So let's start with our first question. Let's see. Okay, let me have a look. Right, okay. We have a question from actually from YouTube. Could you share the source you used for the slide expanding role of linguists? Do you remember?
Yes, I will. There are multiple, sources, because this information is not, as exact, which is visible. They are all indications, but that has been derived from various permutation combination, including Common Sense Advisories report, Slatter, and some sources which is online available. If you want, I can pass it on to Andrea for future reference. You can take it from her.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's good. And then we actually have another question from Lucas. Was there any missing link between 2020 and 2025 for the evolution of translation from craft to AI enterprise?
No, I don't feel there is any missing link. See, human craft is not going to be replaced at all. Because, if you do little more research about the power of our human brains, it combines, and if it's still bigger than any biggest supercomputer of the world. And imagine a supercomputer, a bigger supercomputer, comes inside, at least it needs approximately place where you need to store these data center. It needs to have at least 2000, 3000, 4000 square meters of place where these computers are stored data. But our human brain is only stored inside 1 kg of space, and it weighs only 1 kg. But that 1 kg is still more powerful than the biggest supercomputer of the world. Whether it is Taihulite, or whether it is IBM, or whether it is, anything that has been created so far. I'm talking about one single supercomputer. And processing power of the information also is still very high of human brain. So that creative mind certainly can be replaced if lots of AI start interacting with each other, and lots of supercomputers start interacting with each other. But if they can interact, we can also interact as humans. And we are already doing it. This human network across the globe, although we don't see that, there is always a layer of, impermeable layer of connection. But we are connected across the globe through some or the other activity, whether it is media system, whether it is social system, whether it is country system, whether it is language system. We are all connected. It's just that we don't understand that power of connection. So those who are using that power of connection, they are surviving, they are leaders. Those who don't, those who fail, they feel rejected, they don't realize it. They feel that they are all alone and talk to their own self. So they feel aloof. But reality is different. We have to understand that also. Similarly, when we are talking about AI, they are developing. It is we humans who have helped development of this AI thing. This LLM thing was being developed. Corpora was earlier, parallel corpora came into picture. Before that, we were just discussing equivalence, linguistic theory and all. But when we started developing all this and memory tools, feeding, you needed millions of sentence patterns and structure to make machines for translation tools. And then you started developing structure-based or memory-based tools. Everywhere human were playing role, and still we are playing role. So even these LLMs are being created by us only. It's just that they are being used in a collective pattern. So if we humans, we also start through a platform or through a system or through internet or through social media, if we start solving problems collectively, we can do wonders. So AI is still our child. So I believe there is no such gap at all.
Okay, great. And let's see. Let me see. Okay. Here's another question from Sandra. Mr. Kumar, I read in the abstract that you were going to speak on how to write stronger proposals and how to manage clients and complaints, and also how to explore value-based pricing and service packaging beyond translation. Could you please say a little bit more on that?
Yes. Sorry that I missed that part because of time gap. See, when we are talking about writing proposal, if you go by law, international law or even country law, there are certain basic ingredients of any contract. And the basic ingredient is there has to have a proposal. And in lieu of that proposal, you need to have some consideration in return. And that consideration can be cash or kind. And if you send a proposal and that person has accepted your proposal, the contract is complete. Right? So when translators deal with people across the globe and they send email, let's say somebody does a query to you that I want to do this translation. And based on that query, you send a mail reply saying that, this is the translation, this is the timeline, and this is the quality that I will guarantee, and this is what I will deliver at this cost. And that person accept your proposal, the loop is complete, the contract is complete. So when we are talking about writing any proposal to anyone for your project, not necessarily it has to be written document. There is a gentleman proposal. Verbal proposal also is a proposal. And if somebody accepted is again a proposal accepted. The contract loop is complete. Translators, they many times say that, I didn't get a purchase order number. I didn't send, a formal proposal. I just sent a mail. And they feel that, you are cheated because the person is not paying you. There are many crooks, across the globe. They take your services, they don't pay you. And you also feel dejected that, I was fooled that I didn't get a PO or I didn't write a formal proposal and no contract was signed. There is nothing called a formal contract. The communication itself is a contract. So if that communication has these elements, first element is proposal, what you propose. Second element is, in that you must define the cost. In that you must define the timeline. In that you must define a reference point of quality as per certain standards. You client many times take services and they can say, you didn't do a good work. I mean, what is good work? Who will define? So you must have that reference point that if there is any conflict, we will refer to that point. And if you are not able to define that point, client can play smart with you. So in order to avoid that, give a sample of translation or your prior sample, not necessarily the same part of that sample, a prior done translation sample, that this is how I translate. This is what parameters I use. These are all errors and omissions accepted. Something which is blunder is not accepted. If I do one blunder or two blunders, it is your responsibility to control that because I am human. If you want me to control, I can get it done through a reviewer. You deploy a reviewer, charge for it to control all these, errors. But if you don't do that, you are always at the risk. So it is your responsibility to cover your own risk. It is not the client responsibility. Their responsibility is to get the product, get something which you have promised. So they cannot demand extra premium activity by paying you peanuts, which they also have to understand. And it is your duty to make them understand. And all these things are done in the contract terms or while sending a proposal email. Okay. So this is what, and when we are talking about scaling business, when we are talking about project management, scaling a business is equally important. And for that, you need to do some to start with, little bit of self-branding. What is self-branding? Translators, generally, they feel that they have done a language course with their MA, PhD, whatever, and they feel elated. Certainly, they have done a good thing. They have intellectual capital. But your feeling may not be that feeling of the client. So in order to make you know, adjustments with your feeling, with the client's feeling, you have to do little bit of self-branding, and that comes through consistency. That comes through building trust. That comes through building relationship with your partners, translators, through your suppliers, through your clients as well. And it is not one day activity. It is an ongoing activity. It has to be done on a regular basis. And every day you have to evolve. Do errors, correct them, improve, correct them, improve, correct them, improve, correct. Every day, a small change, a better change over a period of 6 months will give you a massive impact result. But if you don't evolve, you keep doing mistakes and don't evolve, keep doing mistake, you will be stagnant at that point. Maybe you can get some success by, because of non-observation or because of demand and supply and variety of other activities. Initial stage success cannot be taken as the permanent success. In order to remain successful, you have to strike every time, every second. Otherwise, you will be wiped out. And in order to expand, you have to learn, as I told you, learn to do contract, learn to do project management, learn to do quality control, learn to cover your risk, learn to do investments in right time, learn to communicate, learn to be assertive, learn to remain in forefront. Many times you do social works in order to be visible. There is nothing called invisibility of translators, that is being taught at translation school, invisibility of translator. You have to be visible. Invisible translation concept is no more required in the market. If you are invisible, you are gone. You need to be visible. You need to be a brand. And for that, you have to play extraordinary role as not purely as a translator, but also as a human, as a leader, as a fighter. So that is the basic of, entrepreneurship. I mean, there's a big course we have introduced. It's a management course. It takes approximately 20 to 30 lectures and practical training to get into the whole system and evolve as entrepreneur from one man enterprise. But this is what is the basic, If needed, we can organize some more discussions later on this specific topic, because today I have given you a broad outline of what is there in the market and what is there in our career cycle. So keep that for reserve for future.
Yes. We'll do that.
And more can be discussed on that.
Yeah.
Also, if you want to discover a little more on this, I have my channel called Mod Lingua on YouTube. You can go and see some live videos there. It will help you. There are some videos related to project management, quality control, self-branding. We have also, topics related to web development, entrepreneurship, history, how to evolve, what to do, what not to do, including contract management and all.
Great. Because we are almost coming to the end of our talk. I have one more question. I'll give you probably just 1 minute to briefly respond to this question before we end today's lecture. So the question is from Hiroko. I'm a translation student graduating soon, and I'm considering pursuing a master's degree. I'm wondering whether I should continue with translation or switch to a different specialization. What would you advise?
See, if you are purely interested in translation, it can be a good advice to continue with that and specialize in that, because translation, certainly it will give you an edge. But if you are talking about earning out of it, you need to get into the field. There is a field theory also on this, and that comes under power theory. If you read Casanova and all, you will learn that we as humans, when we enter into the field, we are players, and as a player, we are all under a structure, power structure. Whether we are inside the family, we talk to our brother in a different way, mother in a different way, sister in a different way, father in a different way. Similarly, when we go to our office, we talk to our boss in a different way, talk to our colleague in a different way, to our juniors in a different way. So you need to enter into the field as soon as possible, apart from doing the course. If you don't enter, it's just like you just imagine. I tell you the process. That this is cycle. This is how you pedal and you go. If you don't sit on the cycle, if you don't pedal, you don't fall down, you will never be able to learn this, how to drive it. Same thing happens in translation. Theory, classroom, good thing. But if you don't take steps to practice those things with real time challenges coming from clients, including some bashings, clients sending you text handwritten, some text which you can't read, and client expects you to do wonders out of that, and you do mistakes. Client tells you that you have done this and that, and solving client sentiments and problems, not fighting with them, because finally you have to take out money out of their pocket, and nobody sets money, in a normal way. Not even your father will give you money unless and until you give them some assurance of good results of your activities. So taking out money from client's pocket is a very difficult task. So if you don't learn that and only do BA, MA and PhD in translation, you remain a scholar and with less practical knowledge, which will finally affect your career as a scholar. So you need to take steps. That's very important, my friend. So do the course, follow it with the translation, integrate with technology parallelly. If courses are available in the university, take AI courses or technology courses, management courses, some of them, especially branding and marketing, sales management also. I mean, you have to be little, adding some value of management also with the translation. If that happens, you will become a powerhouse, I'm telling you.
Okay. Thank you, Ravi, for sharing not just strategies, actually, but also the hard-earned wisdom, of someone who has actually built what some of us are still sort of sketching on napkins. And thank you all in the audience, whether you ask questions or simply sat there with that special anxiety that comes from realizing you've just been, working, probably underpaid for many years, right? So
Yeah.
we began this series in December with Amin Gao's panoramic view of AI and translation education, and tonight you brought us actually down to the ground level to work with technology and to make our translation career sustainable. So the arc from understanding that landscape to building durable structures within it is exactly what Fit Asia promises to deliver. So, but of course, the conversation does not just end here. We are like 8:30 here, in Macau, where I'm chairing. At different places we have different times, so we are sort of broadcasting across the globe, so across different zones. But we're ending our talk, but I think the conversation does not stop here. Audience or everyone, we do more thinking, we make better plans and take stronger actions. And I think test some of the things that Ravi has just described to us. And of course, more importantly, tell us share with us your thoughts, your outcomes of these tests or these efforts, right? And even more importantly, join us for our next lecture, which will come in about another month's time, where we will, continue assembling the toolkit for this, sort of kind of hybrid future of human expertise and machine capabilities. Okay, so until then, stay fluent, stay profitable, and remember, your linguistic judgment is scarce precisely because it is difficult. So do not give it away. Okay, so good day and good night, everyone, friends, colleagues, from across the globe. That's end of our second Fit Asia webinar on translation
Thank you.
and prompt technology, right? So again, thanks again to our speaker tonight, Dr. Ravi Kumar. Thank you very much for your.
Thank you, my friends. Hope to see you again. Goodbye.
Yes, and you stay
Best of luck.
safe there, because you are in a, as I said earlier, you are in a war zone now. So be careful and stay safe and stay well. Yeah, until next time.
Take care.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Bye now.